Hello and welcome to Tauros All Access. I'm Evan Epstein alongside Lauren Hill and Ken Oda. So we're switching it up a little bit today, talking with Ken Oda, who's now in his 13th season with the Tauros. Ken, you know, you're kind of a man of all tricks here, broadcasting on the business side, but let's go back to the start. What got you into broadcasting and what led you to the Tauros?
What got me into broadcasting is probably the dumbest story ever. Yeah. I just finished undergrad at DePaul in Chicago, where I'm from, and decided, let's see, I should probably tell the PG version. I went to go see my little sister, who's 10 years younger than I am. Her high school marching band was in a parade for 4th of July. So I went out to the parade, and there was a minor league hockey team in the now defunct All-American Hockey League. It was essentially paid beer league, very, very low-level pro. Most of these guys weren't playing competitive hockey anymore. They got sucked back into it. They were hiring for everything. A couple friends who were with me suggested I audition for the play-by-play job. I had been planning to go to law school, so I had no background in broadcasting. But they knew that in high school I'd wanted to go into sports broadcasting, so they convinced me to audition. I signed up for an audition. A couple weeks later, I went to the audition. I got called back. I was one of the final 3. They brought the 3 of us to their main tryout camp and had us broadcast the games, not really broadcast, but just fake a broadcast. And apparently they liked me enough, they offered me the job. It was paying $100 a game for a 60-game season, so $6,000 a year was the job offer, and I walked away from going to law school to take that job. My parents were not happy, but making matters worse, that team folded by Thanksgiving. So I did maybe 15 games and then was unemployed. But it worked out, obviously. The team had pre-bought their airtime on a radio station. So I approached the radio station and I asked them if I could just use that airtime to do a sports talk show. I approached the sales guy from the team, since he was also now unemployed, convinced him to do sponsorship sales, to sell commercials during the show. I hosted the show, turned that into a thing, and was able to build a broadcasting career off of that. Realized that I missed doing play-by-play, and when play-by-play opportunity popped up, I took it. That was in this league, but not in this market. That team folded after 2 years, but I had made enough connections around the league that I ended up here in Minot.
We are so glad that you did. Like Evan said, this is your 13th season with the Tauros. You have built a life for yourself here. You found your wife in Minot, North Dakota, Miss V. We all love her. What is your favorite memory? Just, I know there's been a lot, but what is your favorite memory with the Tauros?
Probably the 2018 Central Cup win, if we're talking about organizationally. That's probably my favorite memory. Last year's team comes pretty close, but I think getting that first one, having been here since the second year of the franchise and been here for most of the struggles, getting that first one sort of gave us a legitimacy that we had been searching for after some of those first few difficult years where we were below 500. As a broadcaster and kind of a goofy guy, my favorite broadcast memory is a game in 2015 between us and the Austin Bruins. My minor in college was history, and this was not planned, but within the play-by-play, our captain at the time, John Lizotte, had a player from the Austin Bruins named Zach Kennedy pinned against the wall. Lizotte was a pretty rough player, and he punched Kennedy in the back of the head. And John Lizotte's defense partner, Casey Johnson, who went on to play at UND, came and stole the puck. But the way I accidentally described it on the broadcast was Kennedy takes a shot to the back of the head and Johnson takes over, which, if you're a history person, I literally had to cut my mic because I was laughing so hard because I said it and then realized I had accidentally just described the assassination of an American president. And I had to cut my mic and laugh for a good 30 seconds before I could pick up the broadcast again.
That's funny.
Yeah.
It's definitely a good moment, and I mean, I think you keep track of how many games you've done for the Toros. Do you have the number off the top of your head?
Ironically, it's a palindrome. 929 career broadcasts, 741 of them as a Toro.
So that's a lot of hockey.
Yeah.
And you mentioned maybe your favorite call that happened in the Toros game. But from a hockey perspective, is there a game or a moment, even a goal, that kind of sticks out over all these years?
I don't know that there's one specific moment. The call that I have locked away that's sort of burned in my memory the most is one I didn't get to use, which was if we had won the 2018 Robertson Cup. We went to the championship game. We didn't make it. I had a call planned for had we won that game. I didn't get to use it. That's probably one that's burned away that I won't ever share.
So you can.
Yeah, so that's probably the call I'm most looking forward to getting to use. But yeah, there have been so many great memories. I hate to pick one. Whether it's the first playoff series win against Bismarck in 2015. That 2018 team going to the Central Cup final with the dramatic overtime winner. There have been so many playoff overtime wins, or just even regulation games and exciting moments that it's really hard to just sit down and go, okay, this is the moment that I pick as my favorite. Other than the obvious, historical blunder.
Well, let's talk more about this season. So obviously it's been a very interesting season. We kicked off 2025 with a 13-game winning streak. What are just your overall thoughts on the season as a whole?
Well, it's been a different season for me, right? This is the first time in a long time I haven't made every road trip with the team, so that was a bit of an adjustment. Certainly a welcome one at times. Other times there's been some exciting games on the road. It's been a little bit harder. But this team overall is, I think I've talked about on the broadcast, we've had, I think, 4 guys prior to this year have 60-point seasons, and we've got 6 this year. It's unbelievable, the top half of this roster, how well they're playing. We've never had anything like this, so I'm looking forward to seeing how that progresses and plays out in the postseason.
I know we are too.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, those top 2 lines are getting so much done out there on the ice, and how close it's been with these top 3 teams all battling for positioning. Toros and Bruins now even at 79 and playing 4 games over the final 4 series, I think is just an exciting way to head toward the postseason.
Yeah, and I think, from a trying to win the division component, you look at our schedule and you don't love it that we've got Austin, we've got Bismarck and Aberdeen, we've got the hardest stretch of the 3 teams, but I think ultimately that's a good thing for us. I've seen it in the past where teams kind of coast into the postseason. They're playing against weaker opponents, or they've clinched their spot in the playoffs and they don't have to try that hard for the next 2 or 3 weeks. And then all of a sudden the playoffs come around and they have to try and flip that switch again, and it's difficult. So I'm hoping that having this tough stretch to close out the regular season, even if it means we end up as the 2 or the 3 seed, ultimately is better for us because we're not developing bad habits against the Mallards or Shamrocks, or we're not having clinched a playoff spot and don't have anything to play for, and guys aren't as focused because Friday and Saturday night right at the end of the regular season don't matter. So I think while it's maybe frustrating for fans and even us in the office to not have a spot locked up yet, I think long term it'll be good for the guys going into the postseason.
And maybe that's sort of the positive you take away, even from a really tough 5-0 loss on the road to Austin. You get to play them the weekend after. You get to make your adjustments and see how they pan out right away, which is why I think it's going to be so interesting to see how the Toros come out at home this weekend against Austin. But Ken, kind of shifting the focus back on over to you. Things look very different now than they did when you got here. From my understanding, it was pretty much a one-man show from the start, a lot of development through different media shows, forms of Tauros All Access until we got here. What are you most proud of in the way that not only the media department has developed, but just the Tauros front office as a whole?
Yeah, the first year I was just kind of thrown in. Ashley Dunbar was the director of operations. She went into labor with her oldest son, literally minutes before doors opened for the first preseason game that we were supposed to have when I got here, and just left. And a volunteer came and told me that she sent the message that she had to go, I'm in charge. And it's kind of been that way ever since. That first year, I didn't have any help officially on the payroll, but I had lots of people who stepped up, lots of volunteers who helped. And then eventually we added Charles C. to the staff and Colin Thompson, and I can go through all the names of people we've added over the years to grow the staff and grow what we're doing, and they've all been a huge part of it. But one of the things I'm most proud of is, I was just literally on a phone call or on a Zoom call with other owners from around the division before we did this show. That's why we started a couple minutes late. But one of the biggest things we get complaints about from other teams in our division is our ticket prices. We only charge $9. Last year it was $8. Pretty much everyone else in the division is 15 or higher. And they complain about that to us because their fans, especially in Bismarck, find it's cheaper to come to a game here than it is in their markets. And that is a big part of what, not just I, but everyone here has tried to build is, I look at what we are to the community, and yes, we're here for the players to move on to Division I, but every Friday and Saturday night, whether we're here in the Mesa or fans are tuned in listening to myself or Evan and Lauren and wherever we're at, it's 3 hours every Friday and Saturday night for 9 months of the year that you don't have to think about maybe less pleasant things going on in your life. We really are a community here. I walk around games and there's people who have become friends here, people who have become family here, people who have become like family here. At the end of last season, when V was pregnant, fans asked about a baby shower. And said, well, during the hockey season, we didn't have time to do one. And a group of fans put together a baby shower for us. So what I'm most proud of is the fact that we are, without a doubt, for less than $50, you can bring a family of 4 and have a fun night out. And, that to me is what I think is the most important thing we have done for this community. Bringing high-end hockey, bringing future NHL players through the building is certainly cool, and that adds to it. But for most people, they don't know that when they were watching Blake Lizotte in 2015, we didn't know he was going to go on to have a long NHL career. For most people, it was just this was something that they could do on a Friday and Saturday night. And I'm, like I said, 10 years older than my sister. There wasn't a lot you could get my parents and my sister and I to all agree to do on a Friday or Saturday night, but going to a sporting event was certainly one of them, and being able to provide that for this community is probably what I'm most proud of.
So like we just discussed, you have created a lot of opportunities and just things here for Minotaurs fans and the Mesa Arena as a whole and the Pepsi rink, and just you've been given opportunities to people that need it and whatnot. And we wanted to ask you about the internship program and how you came about creating that and how it's kind of flourished.
Wanted to do from the start, but didn't have the ability to do really until COVID, to be honest. Schools were not set up for students to do classes remotely prior to COVID. So, baseball teams get tons of interns because students are on summer vacation. For us, we never could get interns from anywhere except for Minot State, because if they were enrolled in a class, they couldn't come to Minot from wherever. Now that schools are set up for students to do class remote, we've been able to add you two plus Edward, who was up here. Grace has been an intern for 3 years now. We're able to add interns because they can do their classwork online. They don't have to be on campus to do the rest of their coursework, and that's really, I mean, we couldn't have done a daily show like this before. You mentioned, Evan, earlier that this is, I think, the 4th version of Tauros All Access or some sort of web show for our fans, and we couldn't have done a daily show. I remember the first time I tried doing one, it was, you know, as you guys mentioned, we didn't have any other staff, so I was literally setting up the camera, hitting record, and then running around the camera and sitting down and doing the whole show and interviewing whoever, and then having to go back and edit it, and it would be a day-long process just to put together one episode. Couldn't do that every day. Now, with the ability to go live and have a couple of interns in Minot who are dedicated to doing the show every day, it allows us to communicate more with our fans, and I think that's, you know, overall a good thing, and it gives you guys experience early in your careers that hopefully you'll find valuable as you move forward.
Well, Ken, this was kind of great to have you come on Tauros All Access. I mean, and great to kind of have everyone get to know what's been happening for you here with the Tauros for the past 13 years. So thank you for joining us, and that will do it for Tauros All Access.
Before we end the episode, we do have a QR code down here that you do have to scan in order to get tickets, Booster Club information, or merchandise, or literally anything you could possibly need within the Minotauros network. So please scan that. Get tickets to this weekend's home series, as well as our last regular season home game on April 11th against the Bismarck Bobcats. But other than that, that'll do it for today's episode of Tauros All Access, and we will see you tomorrow.